Hello everyone. Today we'll be taking a look at the humble beginnings of TV animation again. Back in the 1960s, cartoons like this used to be the cutting edge of animation. That is for television, that is. You had Underdog, Tennessee Tuxedo, and today's featured character, who may be even older than he was back then, but is still as badass as ever. That's right, it's Commander McBragg.
When on the hill the Marines plant a flag, they may be led by Commander McBragg. With a cannon in hand, he can beat any band, or so says the bride of McBragg.
Now, Commander McBragg first appeared on the Tennessee Tuxedo Show, an older retired officer who spent most of his time in a gentleman's club, back when that wasn't code for a titty bar.
You know, I haven't been in here since they jazzed up the place.
There he would partake in his smoke and tell stories of his amazing exploits. He always started a story with,
There.
There. What? There, wolf. There, castle.
Why are you talking that way?
I thought you wanted to.
and ended it with,
Quiet.
and in between would be a truly unbelievable story filled with exotic location, dangerous adversaries, and bloodthirsty creatures. Luckily, the commander always found a way to get out of trouble with some kind of clever maneuver. That, or he used a cannon. He loved carrying a cannon around like a gun. Dirty Harry be damned. Now, the commander never really had any episodes per se. His segments were only about 2 minutes long each, so they were more like bumpers between all the other segments. The short time both distinguished McBragg from the other cartoons and cut away the fat so that the McBragg segments pretty much had the most action. Also, you may have noticed that the guy that McBragg would tell the stories to has this nasty habit of shape-shifting. They all have the same voice, so I don't know if it's supposed to be different people that the commander is just bugging, or if there's some sort of weird Ranger Smith thing going on here.
I've seen you somewhere before.
Not me. Brand new face.
Now allow me to break out the fabulous, famous, flamboyant, fantastic 3D BB and give you a little history lesson. McBragg himself was a combination of two figures. First we have Sir C. Aubrey Smith, an English actor who in his later years was known for his distinctive features, acting ability, as well as his outstanding Britishness. I mean, he had a career as a professional cricket player for a time and was eventually knighted by George VI for his work in the theater. Also very eccentric, he inspired McBragg on and off the screen. You see, he would take on roles that would later mirror the exploits of McBragg, but also in 1888, Smith went to Africa to prospect for gold. There he got pneumonia, to which doctors wrongly pronounced him dead. How do you do that? Oh sure, he was dead, but he walked it off. Aside from Smith, McBragg is also meant to be a modern-day Baron Munchausen, an 18th century figure known for telling outrageous tall tales about his own life, like riding cannonballs, traveling to the moon, and literally pulling himself out of quicksand by his own bootstraps. In those regards, McBragg is definitely one of those cartoons that takes on different dimensions as you get older. I mean, you watch the adventures of Underdog and Tennessee Tuxedo, and those are literal interpretations of those animals' adventures. And you would assume the same thing for McBragg until you turn 8.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about? Like, when you're growing up, everything an adult says is gospel until there's that one moment when an adult says something and you go, I think that's fucking bullshit.
Doesn't help that the commander claims to have done everything first.
Did I ever tell you how I invented the airplane?
You, Commander? I always thought Wilbur in Orville.
The Wright brothers? Nonsense. Flew long before they did. There, Dodge City. The wildest, most ferocious town in the entire West. At least it was until I cleaned it up.
You, Commander? I thought Wyatt Earp.
Nonsense. Wyatt couldn't handle it. Have I ever told you how I cleaned out the Chicago racketeers? Did I ever tell you about the time I caught the world's biggest fish? I was the original singing cowboy, don't you know?
Fine, McBragg, fine. You did everything before it was cool. Look at him. Smokes a pipe, dresses like an old man. What a hipster. Okay, so you never really know for sure if he's lying or not. until he starts taking credit for the Great Pyramids and the Grand Canyon. Although there is this one episode where McBragg claims to have been adopted by a giant bird.
How did you ever manage to escape?
Didn't exactly. Can I give you a lift?
No thanks, Commander. I've got to be... I say, Commander...
Speaking of which, there have been misconceptions that all these characters have been created by the same person. That is not true. Ward, who was the producer, underline producer, of shows like George of the Jungle, Rocky and Bullwinkle, Mr. Peabody, and Dudley Do-Right. Then you have W. Watts Biggers, who created Underdog, Tennessee Tuxedo, and McBragg. But because of the similar production style set in place back then, most people just lumped them all together. But getting back to the subject, the McBragg segments originally appeared on the Tennessee Tuxedo Show in 1963 and on Underdog from 64 on, both shows created by Biggers. However, there have been a few syndicated prints where the McBragg segments have appeared on the Rocky and Bullwinkle Show. In fact, you can even see Bullwinkle making a cameo. So McBragg is probably one reason why people think all these cartoons were made by one person.
And that, my boy, is how I saved a planet of blue cat people from evil military industrialists.
I say, Commander, that story sounds an awful lot like the one you told about living with a tribe of American Indians in order to gain their trust.
Oh, well, I could see how.
And like the one you told about saving an Australian rainforest with the help of magical fairies.
Well, you see.
And whilst we're on the subject, don't forget the one about the little blue creatures you saved from an evil wizard.
Well, that time.
And it all seems very reminiscent of the time you said you had to stop the second coming of an evil warlord by destroying the One Ring of Power by lobbing it into a volcano of all places.
Well, did I ever tell you about the time I did your mother?
What?
She was terrible. The end.
This is the world of Commander McBragg.
Your hair will curl in the world of McBragg.
He fights monsters galore, and then asks for still more.
For so says the brag of McBragg.
Alright, I'll bite. What's in the pipe?
Opium, hashish, marijuana, and as of yet unidentified mushrooms that tend to culture near my estate.
Well, Commander, I always knew you were a fun guy.
Quite.